my name is Tori Shendel Vaivoda. I'm the curator at the Evansville African American Museum, and per the Indiana Historical Mini Grant authorized by Eli Lilly, we're unbelievably grateful to have the opportunity to do a cultural heritage speaker and have that presented to our community. And so for our speaker, we have Dr. Emily Stammitti, and I'm going to have her introduce herself. Thank you for being here, Emily.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Tori. I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to speak. So my name is Dr. Emily Stammitti, or Emily Stammitti Campbell. I'm currently the director of a master's program at the University of Evansville called the Masters in Innovative Leadership in Heritage Management. And that's a degree that essentially combines lots of different aspects of the tourism industry, the cultural heritage, anthropology, archaeology sectors, along with business and environmental sciences, all wrapped up into one big degree to teach and prepare students and professionals how to enter the management fields of cultural heritage or cultural resource management. So hopefully working in museums, working on heritage sites of all varieties, and helping push forward 21st century agendas that suit our society best and helps create kind of 21st century solutions to 21st century problems. We are big believers in looking forward rather than looking back when it comes to finding these solutions. So I feel like what I do is such an important job, and the way that we've structured this program around all of the tenets of diversity, equality, inclusion, and predominantly social justice are just the most important topics of our time. I genuinely believe that. Because cultural heritage is this constant reminder of who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going. So I got my start in kind of the idea of cultural heritage. I live in Britain now, but I grew up just on the outskirts of Cleveland, Ohio. And the town I grew up in, there was not only a lot of diversity, but there was a lot of culture clash between different groups. We had gang violence and a lot of lower socioeconomic areas. And from a relatively young age, I was shocked to find that there were a few places that we would consider cultural heritage monuments around the city and attached to the lake that somehow brought all of these different groups together. So it kind of didn't matter what your background was, if you were fighting with that neighborhood, people came together. They really rallied around places of common cultural heritage. And it struck me that this can be a really amazing tool to build peace, to collaborate within our towns and our communities, and overcome the kind of superficial differences that seem to divide us as people and as a society. Now, of course, there are still lots of places where cultural heritage can be extremely divisive. And that's why I feel like having those open conversations across this master's we've put together is so important. We need to speak to each other. And most importantly, for those people who have traditionally held positions in the heritage sector, we need to get better at listening. We need to learn and listen and take direction. So that's a little bit about what cultural heritage means to me. When I think about cultural heritage as well, I think about the diversity aspect. We live in a society where most cultural heritage, particularly in Britain, has been written and preserved by predominantly white, middle or upper class demographics of society. I've been subject to this as well. I'm grateful to be white, and that comes with a certain amount of privilege. Now living in Britain, I'm seen as a foreigner, and also coming from a lower socioeconomic background, I have had professionals and professors look at me and say, well, I wouldn't get too excited about your career, Emily. You do come from the wrong side of the tracks after all. Or I have been in meetings of board meetings with all men at the table, and I've told that as a woman, I'm pathetic for thinking that I have a place at the table or that I have a difference to make. So instead of letting that really affect me, even though at the time it really did affect me, I was really upset by it. Instead of letting it get me down, it made me really angry. And in getting angry, I think that you can channel that energy into a more positive place. So now instead of letting it get me down, I turn around and go, watch me help other people who you think are from the wrong background, who haven't traditionally had a seat at this table, because your time is up. This is not the 1800s. This is not the 1900s. We're in the 21st century, and it's time for a change. And I think the more voices and faces we have at that table, the stronger we're all going to be, because we all come from different perspectives and worldviews. And how can we hope to move forward in the world without every perspective being at that table? It just seems the best way forward. And I hope that some of your viewers will agree with me in this. So some of the work that I do as well within my work within cultural heritage is I'm a huge supporter of working within communities to build legacy and also empower those communities to take action on their own. So across Britain, I've helped communities develop educational programs. Again, these programs have been predominantly in lower socioeconomic class areas that are quite, I think they would be considered quite highly deprived neighborhoods. And yet the programs being underfunded, underprivileged in every way, it's amazing to see the difference that the power of one can make. Because you give of your time, suddenly that community takes ownership of ideas, they take ownership of their own cultural heritage, and the program grows its own legs and is off and running, and people develop a real sense of pride in those communities, whereas before they may have not even known about the heritage at their fingertips.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing to share. And with that, and wanting to open up the table, because at least I know for museums in America, it is 80% white women. And getting diversity has been difficult because of a myriad of reasons. Boards not wanting to accept diversity, or I've seen instances, especially in my state of Indiana, Newfields, and that turned into a mess. And it almost looked like it was tokenism, that they were just hiring her despite her background in social justice and how she is a phenomenal curator. They took away or tried to take away her voice, which ultimately led to the director being fired because he literally put in a job description that the new president or leader had to adhere to the core white audience.
Oh, right. Okay. That's shocking. Sorry.
So when individuals say that this stuff doesn't matter, doesn't have a place in the 21st century, and why are we focusing on it so much, is we're creating difficult spaces for people to want to come into, especially if you're from marginalized communities. And when you see homogenous white people, that has to be intimidating. Now, obviously, I'm a privileged white woman, and I'm not trying to speak on behalf of individuals. These are just stories and instances that members of the Black community have entrusted with me and have shared. And so what I'm curious on, from your perspective, what other strategies are you hoping for to make out of this master's program to get more BIPOC representation in your program?
Well, so first off, I agree with you as well. I acknowledge my own privilege as a white woman as well. And I always feel shocked and horrified to hear about these stories where people from diverse backgrounds are just literally thrown under the table this way. It's quite disgusting. And I'm really sorry to hear it. So some of the tactics that we're looking at, well, first off, we're trying to advertise in places where it's not just that traditional 80% white audience. I think you can't keep advertising in the same places and expect the word to get out. So we are trying to bolster our social media representation, everything from, your mom's Facebook to TikTok, to hope to engage slightly younger audiences. I know there won't be any TikTok dance challenges coming from me. I swear people would just find it hilarious, but maybe we can, no, I don't know. But on top of that, we're looking at a range of scholarship schemes, grants, and other types of funding so that students from disadvantaged backgrounds don't have to worry about the stress of finding work or working alongside their degrees. We've also introduced several internship programs, one of which is based here in Britain, and it's an 80% tuition reduction scheme alongside a 3-month fully funded internship at Belvoir Castle, which is the historic seat of the Duke and Duchess of Rutland, one of the longest standing, wealthiest aristocratic families in Britain. So we're hoping that by building in better funding options, better marketing options, but also really taking the time to hear the types of jobs and skills that communities want, we can best accommodate all of those different factors. There's no point in training people in talent X if they really want to learn and need to learn talent Y once they get into a job. So that's why we feel the networking that we do and the internships that we're building with our Evansville and British communities are so incredibly important. We want our graduates to move into immediately meaningful work and not linger at the end of their degree wondering why they've just spent a year of their lives listening to the likes of me.
Well, having had to listen to the likes of you, it was a truly wonderful experience to learn from you and with you. We were hosting in 2022, so very excited for your new program and for your new students. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the DEI initiatives that University of Evansville and Harlaxton is going to make, and having new opportunities for individuals from not only American but British backgrounds to learn about cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, no, just, you know, if you're interested in the program, feel free to check out the Evansville web pages. If you'd like to come and just give all of us a bit of a taster to see if we're right for you, we do have an archaeological dig running in the summers, which requires absolutely no experience. And we are partnered with a UK charity called the Enabled Archaeology Foundation. And our goal is to be the most accessible and inclusive field school in Britain. So obviously, if you have questions, please find us, give us a shout. We're always open to answering any question, even the hard ones. But just in closing, Tori, thank you so much for hearing me and for offering me the opportunity to talk a little bit about the amazing work that I do. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.